It's Honkai Star Rail's 3rd anniversary, so you know what that means. A shiny new flagship character to run the meta. This time around, we've got Superwolf level 999, or Superwolf for short. She's Superwolf's new form, duh, and she's designed as the main DPS for the Elation team comp. Now, even though the Relic Recon event is going on, I have about 3,000 Trailblaze Power that I'm itching to spend. So for today's video, we're gonna pull Superwolf, ideally also get her Light Cone, see what kind of a build we can pull off with 3,000 Trailblaze Power, and then try her out not just in her most optimal team, but also see how she feels if you're missing one or all of her premium team members. Alright, first up, we hit in the slots. I'm starting out with roughly 180 pulls. Thank you, top up reset. And you might be thinking, that's not enough pulls to guarantee Superwolf and her Light Cone. And to that I'd say, maybe for you. On this channel, we hit the 50-50s early. Just don't think too hard about the last character video. That being said, I'm calling my shot now. 40 pulls and I will have Superwolf. Wait, there's no way I'm actually getting her 40 pulls. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, just like I said it happened. Huh. Okay, well, it's pretty chill now, actually. I've really been looking forward to this character, so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab her Light Cone too. Wow, that was a little more rough. Honestly though, it's cause I didn't call the shot that time. That's on me. But we won both 50-50s in 100 pulls, so I'm definitely still gonna call that a win. And next up, let's get her up to snuff. Now, I went ahead and pre-farmed most of the materials, so let me go ahead and get her all leveled up here. And done. Now for the actually hard part, anyone can win a 50-50, but can I roll and level some solid relics? The sets I'm going for are the Magical Girl 4-piece and the Punk Lord 2-piece planar set. Alright, we've got the domains running in the background, so as usual, while that's going on, let's briefly go over how Superwolf works and what stats she wants so we can have an idea of what a good haul would even be for her. And again, this is less a guide and more so a reminder or heads up on how she works in general. To start, her kit largely revolves around her generating her special resource, Hidden MMR. Yeah, she is a gamer. How could you tell? Now, Hidden MMR does a couple of things for Superwolf. One, it functions as her energy source to trigger her ultimate. She needs at least 60 to cast it, but she can hold up to 300 at a time. This matters because the second function is that each point of Hidden MMR will provide her 0.4% crit rate per point of Hidden MMR, or 0.8% crit damage per point if she's reached 100% crit rate. Needless to say, you want as much Hidden MMR as possible. Now, she can generate MMR through a few different ways. The simplest is that each point of punchline generated by her team will give her 1 point of MMR. However, she can also generate a nice chunk of MMR by triggering her Elation skill while she's outside of her ultimate state. It gives a base of 15 MMR. However, if she's hit the breakpoints of 20 or 40 punchline when triggering her Elation skill, she'll get an additional 20 or 40 MMR respectively for a max of 55 MMR, although 35 will probably be more common. Once you've got the MMR necessary for her ult, casting it will consume 60 in order to put her in the God mode state. This provides her with 3 enhanced basic attacks. It also creates the Gamer Zone. Assuming that Silverwolf has certified banger, which should be all the time, when an ally consumes a skill point in the zone, they can trigger a loot box. This loot box will deal some elation damage and then randomly contain one of 3 items. The Big Flipping Sword to deal another chunk of damage, Kaboom Explosion that will recover 2 SP, or the Funky Munch Bean that will generate an additional 3 punchline. The chance for this to trigger starts at 100%, reduces to 20% after the first trigger, and continues to lower after each subsequent trigger. Moving on to her 3 enhanced basic attacks, they're relatively straightforward. They'll deal a nuke of elation damage over 100 bounces, as well as also trigger a loot box after each enhanced basic attack. Furthermore, the damage these EBAs deal will be increased by an undiluted 15 or 30% if you manage to reach 60 or 120 MMR respectively. Lastly, she'll have a new elation skill in her God mode state. It'll do a chunk of elation damage as well as reset the trigger trains for the loot box. This means you could pretty realistically get at least 5 triggers of the loot box, 3 from her EBAs and 2 from allies, assuming you line up an AHA instance to occur during Superwolf's God mode state. Once you've used all 3 EBAs, Superwolf will do a big finisher hit, exit God mode, and clear all of her remaining MMR to start the rotation over again. Now, I know that sounded like a lot, but it's honestly easier in practice. Most of the stuff will just happen as you attack, so you don't need to think about it too hard. And with that, I think my relics are ready. Because of Superwolf's speed to elation damage conversion talent, in a perfect world, I'm aiming for 200 speed since that's where that caps out at, which means I'm looking for speed substats first and foremost, followed by crit rate and damage. This also means my main stats for my two-piece planers barely matter. Ideally, they're HP or defense though, which sounds so weird for a main DPS. But let's just see what we're working with. Okay, I've actually got some pretty promising pieces here. A couple of double crit head and glove pieces, some mediocre speed boots, and because her Lycone doesn't give any crit substats, I think I'm gonna go with a crit rate body just to add some extra consistency to her damage profile. And for the planers, I actually ended up getting some passable pieces from the Relic Recon, so I guess I'll just run with those for now. That being said, let's see if I'm truly blessed with how these other relics roll. Alright, I think this is going to be the loadout for now, which leaves us with the stat breakdown of 79 crit rate, 125 crit damage, and 189 speed. Not terrible, although like I mentioned earlier, ideally you'd want 200 speed. But that's obviously easier said than done, and if you can't reach it right now, it's not gonna make or break you at this point. Honestly though, with Superwolf's trace that converts extra hidden MMR into crit substats, it'd probably be worth it to give up on some crit if it lets you reach 200 speed. I just don't have that opportunity. Anyways, Silverwolf is built and ready for action. Again, this isn't going to be a zero cycle showcase or anything like that, but just something to give you an idea of how Superwolf might look and perform on your account depending on which units you have. So for this casual testing, I'll be running her against Kafka from the current memory of Chaos 12. First up, let's set that baseline of what she looks like on her premium team. I've got a pretty invested setup here with E2 S1 Yao Guang, E1 S1 Sparksy, E1 S1 Huohuo, and of course, Superwolf. And go figure, this team feels really smooth to play. Sparksy builds up a ton of punchline for Superwolf to activate her ult, and Yao Guang's ult can also help to either build a punchline or trigger additional elation skill procs once Superwolf is in her God Gamer mode. Then Huohuo is here for some extra energy for more Yao Guang ults. It's an incredibly synergistic team that feels pretty fun to play, assuming you don't mind all the elation skills flashbanging your eyes. But how does Superwolf feel when you're missing a few pieces of the ship? So next, I'm going to try the team to simulate if you committed the cardinal sin of skipping Yao Guang but pulled Sparksy. So we've got Sparksy, Superwolf, obviously, Huohuo, and then we've got the Elation MC to replace Yao Guang. They're definitely not a perfect replacement, but they can at least proc additional Superwolf elation skills to help with that punchline buildup or elation skill damage output. And for the record, I'm running them with the elation light cone from Herta's shop. And as you might expect, it definitely feels weaker, especially compared to the E2 S1 Yao Guang that I was rocking. But the team at least functions. Part of the slower clear time could also definitely be some user error, but all in all, the flagship is still upright and sailing. So let's fix that. We're gonna rip the sail off the ship by taking Sparksy off the table too. For this team, we're gonna run with Superwolf, Elation MC, Huohuo, and then my E2 S1 Tribby. The thought here is that Elation MC is here to help Superwolf with her punchline buildup by triggering extra elation skills. Huohuo provides some sustain, but she's really here just to help fuel Elation MC's ult, and then Tribby's function is as a general purpose buffer. I get not everyone has E2 S1 Tribby, but I've also seen talk that Asta with Dance 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 could also function as a lower budget buffer for the team. But I don't have her build, so I can't try that out here. And all things considered, it works, kind of. I will say it feels pretty awkward, to the point I'd probably rather play another team comp than just try and make Superwolf work like this. However, if you just really like her but you didn't pull on any of the previous Elation character banners, there are at least some ways to still run her. Just keep in mind, it'll obviously run and feel worse until you can get some more Elation units in the lineup. All in all, the new and improved Silverwolf has been a pretty fun character to play so far. She's flashy, her sound effects tickle my brain, and in the right team, she absolutely blasts. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments how your Silverwolf pulls went. Subscribe for more Honkai Star Rail videos, and most importantly, have a blessed day.